Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 252, listener feedback number 23. Wow. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the fine folks over at Weaver's Department Store. Folks, I tell you about them every week, and I want you to drop by weaversdepartmentstore.com and check it out. There are so many things there that any Mayberry fan would love. I know you would love it. Drop by over at weaversdepartmentstore.com and tell Mr. Weaver Floyd said hey. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners just like you. The executive producer of number 252 is Hody Snitch. Hody Snitch. Yeah, I think he's off in the woods with Dud Walsh or somebody. I'm not sure. Folks, hello. It's good to have you here in Mayberry with me. I'm Alan Newsom, your host for Two Chairs No Waiting. And it's always wonderful to spend some time here in Mayberry with you each week. And, wow, you know, we've had such a great couple of weeks here with Betty Lynn, in her interviews. And I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I mean, that was just, to me, awesome getting to hear from Betty. And, man, it was exciting to be able to spend some time with her and to do those interviews. If you hadn't heard them, head over and listen to those last two episodes. I know you'd enjoy them. So tonight we're going to be hearing from some of you guys in our listener feedback section. So we've got some stuff where we're going to be reviewing some old stuff from years back. I didn't realize how many years until just a few minutes ago, actually, when I was getting this ready. But we're going to hear from some stuff about good old 14A, and we're going to hear feedback from other things too, because there's just so many things that you guys have been writing in that I think are fun to talk about and listen to, that I want to head over there and check it out. So first off, let's go in here. This is about episode number 95. Now, it was written in. They didn't know it was about episode number 95 of Two Chairs No Waiting. It's called Good Old 14A. So you can go over and check that out. And we had Ross. He wrote in. And Ross is the husband of one of our, I guess, weekly chat room visitors. And Ross wrote in and had this to say. He said, I'm Ross, Lydia's husband from the chat room. And as I'm sure you know, she's a podcast faithful. After a hard day of teaching, she looks forward to it every week, to the effect that the computer is hers regardless of any circumstance except the good Lord returning. I finally got her on some triviality today, and she suggested I send it in as an idea for the podcast. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm always looking for those. While listening to a music channel this morning, before leaving for services, it was Sunday morning, I heard what sounded like good old 14A, a.k.a. Welcome Sweet Springtime. I found out that the melody is called Melody in F and dates back to 1852. And that is so true. And you can go and read about it on the Wikipedia article that we've got linked to in our show notes that we're going to have there. Anyway, it tells the story of the melody itself and its companion, but seldom played sister melody. There was a musical, sort of, made in the UK, showcasing Rubinstein's piano work, and the details are found, and he's got a link in the article here, and we'll have those in our show notes. And YouTube has a number of versions of the melody, which you're hearing some of it. You're hearing it in the background. The Welcome Sweet Springtime, or Voices in the Woods, published in 1884 to Rubinstein's tune. There's a couple of links below in his email as well. And it has sheet music out there on the web for several resources. Anyway, the long story short, you can do with this what you wish. I just got on a tangent today and got interested in the backstory. Plus, it was something to one-up my resident Andy expert. Either way, I thought it might be something you'd enjoy. So thanks so much. And kind regards, Ross. Ross, thank you so much for sending in that email. And you are right. I'm very interested in this. Back in August 2010. It was the 3rd of August, 2010. Episode number 95 of Two Chairs No Waiting came out, and it was called Good Old 14A. And if you head over there, there's links and everything in that episode, and it's audio only. There's no video from that episode, but it's only about 14 minutes long, and it goes into a lot of the stuff like you're hearing here. Now, that's one version of Good Old 14A. Here's a ukulele version that you might like. And you can find a lot of these things out on YouTube. And the links are actually in the show notes of episode number 95. So that's a ukulele version. And let's go and hear this swinging melody version. This is a swinging version. Sounds like something Hazel might have tried to learn. Good old 14A. Oh, isn't that nice? Can't you just see Hazel sitting there at the piano and playing her music? Kind of sounds like an old radio show, doesn't it? And now we join the folks in Mayberry over at the courthouse, where we find Barney propping his feet up on the chair, leaned back with a paper over his face, as Andy enters the door of the courthouse. Let's join him. That's what it sounds like up until this part. Anyway, that's Good Old 14A, melody in F. And there's all kinds of, as I said, information on there about it. And it's Anton Rubinstein, I think I'm probably saying it right, who actually wrote the music. And we're jamming out now to Good Old 14A. So, folks, I hope you like that. Thanks again, Ross, for writing in with that information. I really do appreciate it. And it's always good to remember some of our old episodes, folks. There's a lot of them out there. If you hadn't heard them, head back over into our old archives areas, and you'll be able to find them. There's a complete episode list. If you look at the top of twochairsnowaiting.com, you'll see a complete episode listing right there on the left side of the page, just above the T in Two Chairs. And you can see every episode that was ever done of Two Chairs No Waiting. So a little jamming out there with that. So let's get rid of that and head back over into our comments. So we got another one, and this one's from Janet, and she's writing in regarding let's see, what's she regarding? Episode number 250, Betty Lynn interview. Now, she wrote in to say this. She said that, I got to get some background music. There we go. She said, Alan, I loved part 1 of your interview with Betty Lynn. I've had a special fondness for her for a long time, and I've often thought that I'd like to read a book about her life, but nothing is available. Though I am, of course, quite familiar with her character of Thelma Lou on the Andy Griffith Show. She is one of my favorite characters, by the way. I also enjoy watching her movie performances from when she was a very young woman. June Bride is probably my favorite, and Betty seemed a natural for the role of Boo Brinker, the teenage girl who's in love with the boy her older sister plans to marry. Betty has a rather substantial role in that film and does a great job. I've also seen Setting Pretty, Father Was a Fullback, Cheaper by the Dozen, and $1 Million Mermaid. I think Betty was just perfect for the role of Thelma Lou on the Andy Griffith Show, and it was a shame that her character was eliminated after Don Knotts left the show. I had the privilege of meeting her briefly at a Mayberry event in Newcastle, Indiana. She was so friendly and gracious, even though her hand must have been aching from all the autographs she signed for fans that day. And I'm hoping one day to visit Mount Airy and see her again at the Andy Griffith Museum. I can't wait for part 2 of your interview. Well, thanks, Janet. And guess what? Janet didn't wait long, because she also wrote back and said, Alan, this is about our next episode, part 2 of the Betty's interview. She says, I was anxiously awaiting part 2 of your interview with Betty, and I wasn't disappointed. She really has an interesting life story. I wish she'd consider writing an autobiography. Her second mention that Betty needs to write a book. I would certainly buy it. While listening to your interaction with Betty, I was reminded of an expression I used to hear my mother use. Sometimes she would refer to someone by saying they were, quote, just as common as the old shoe, end quote. Now, that may seem derogatory, like a comment that would be derogatory, but it's not. Actually, it's a compliment. It means that someone is down to earth and doesn't take him or herself out to be, better than somebody else. Someone the average person can relate to and feel comfortable with. And I think that describes Betty perfectly. She is really a sweetheart, isn't she? Thanks again, Janet. So, Janet, hey, thank you. And thank you for listening to the 2 episodes with Betty. We had both 250 and 251 with her, so y'all go check it out. Now, we got another comment here. Again, this one's from Facebook. When Rob, he wrote in and said, I thoroughly enjoyed the last 2 episodes featuring the interview with Betty Lynn. I met her last year at the Andy Griffith Museum, and she is exactly as she appears. Warm, loving, welcoming, and fun to be around. More interviews with her would be fantastic. Thanks, Rob. I agree. Betty's always wonderful to talk with. She has so many stories, and I could definitely interview her again if she ever has time. She's pretty busy. They keep her busy. So thanks again for writing in on Facebook. So let's head on over, and this is about episode number 249. Let's go see what they have to say about that. Paul Pyle. No relation to Goober or Gomer. The episode 249 was about Let the Celebration Begin, because we had matched the total episodes of same number of the Andy Griffith Show. He said, it's a great episode, Alan. Loved hearing the interviews of the tribute artist that I've never seen perform. And Floyd at the end was precious. Do you ever film the performances that the tribute artists do? Not officially, Paul. They are some of the things are on YouTube. If you go out there and look, you'll see some of the stuff that we've done. But we don't officially post it out and video it out or anything like that. But there are sometimes people that give us DVDs. So if you come to the live shows when we're recording the podcast, I often will play some video clips from events where we were. But they're not recorded. They're just live. So you have to be here live to see them. So drop by on Monday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern time into the chat room, and you can watch video and be a part of this podcast recording. And we do a little bit of extra stuff along the way as well. So you're more than welcome to drop by and do that. Now we got another one. This one is coming in from Philip Greer. Now, Philip is writing in about, he's talking about 2 Chairs No Waiting, episode number 159, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. He says, "Attaboy, Alan. Attaboy, Alan." That's probably how he said it. Attaboy, Luther. So much great information. I saw this at the theater when I was a kid in 1966, and we watch it every Halloween. I still get chills when I hear the organ music because it was so terrifying when I saw it the first time. I remember the whole theater screaming when poor Luther was in the house all alone and the organ with the blood on the keys started playing all by itself. Taro, Caro, Solomon. Oh, man. Thank you so much for writing in, Philip. That is awesome. So, folks, there is just so much going on around Mayberry. Now, in case you didn't know, Mayberry Days is coming up in, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. It's the last full weekend of September every year there in Mount Airy for Mayberry Days. So I want to invite you guys to head on over there. It's going to be the 26th through the 29th of September of 2013. Now, if it's not 2013 when you're listening to this, I guarantee you there will still be a Mayberry Days coming up the last full weekend of September when you do come. Now, for all kinds of details about that, I want to recommend to you that you head over and listen to Burke On Mayberry, episode number 116. Kevin Burke, he had the very first Mayberry podcast. That's right, before me. He was the first. And he's got episode number 116. It's about the 2013 Mayberry Days Festival. And you can go and listen to that. It's only probably about 10, 11 minutes long. You can go and check that out and hear all kinds of information about Mayberry Days and the events that happen around Mayberry Days. So I want to encourage you to head over there and check it out, because there are so many things happening during Mayberry Days. I can't even begin to start. I don't need to, matter of fact, because Kevin's already covered it. So head over and listen to Burke On Mayberry, number 116. I'm so used to saying 2 chairs, no waiting. But Kevin has hosted his site. So if you're at twocairsnowaiting.com and you go up to the top of the page, you're going to see a link right there for Burke On Mayberry. So if you're at twocairsnowaiting.com, when you scroll over just a little bit to the left, right there at the top of the page, it says Burke On Mayberry. If you'll click it, it'll take you right to Kevin's great podcast, and you can listen to them right there on our website and get to hear Kevin and Mayberry. Can't ever be too much Mayberry stuff on the web, is what I've always said. And, you know, I'm just thankful Kevin does a podcast, because I get to listen to one that I don't have to do. So I love doing the podcast, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to listen and just enjoy stuff, you know. So if any of you guys would like to start doing a podcast, I'll listen. I'll try to. All right, so drop by and hear about Kevin there at Mayberry Days. Now, I do want to encourage you, head on over there. If you're going to go to Mayberry Days, you better be trying to get tickets, because it's too late almost if you hadn't gotten them yet. And there, if you go to the website, you'll see all the folks going to be there. Of course, Betty Lynn lives in Mount Airy. She's going to be there. Roland White from the Country Boys. James Best is going to be there. That's Jim Lindsay or Roscoe Pico Train. Kara Knotts, she'll be there. Morgan Brittany is going to drop back in. I think this will be our 3rd year of getting to see her. And she was Mary Alice Carter, you know, that tried to break Opie's heart and didn't go to the dance with her, but came home with him. George Lindsay Jr. will be on hand. George Spence, Peggy McKay, Sharon Despain. Big fish on a little pond. She'll be there. Maggie Peterson will be there with us again. Margaret Carey, she was Helen Scobie or Bess Muggins, you know, in the foreclosure episode or the Christmas episode. And Elizabeth McRae, she was Betty Parker on the Andy Griffith Show, but everybody knows her as Lou Ann Poovey from Gomer Pyle, USMC. And, of course, Leroy McNeese, he'll be there as well. So, folks, just head over to mayberrydays.org, and you can get all kinds of information about Mayberry Days. And you got to get your tickets. They go fast. So head on over and pick them up as soon as you get a chance. Just get them. I'd love to see you. If you're there, make sure you come up to Floyd and say, hey to Floyd, because I would love to see you there at Mayberry Days. Now, if you missed that, there are other events coming up in the very, right in that same time frame. There's one coming up the weekend after. If you can't make it to Mayberry Days, you can head over to Salisbury, North Carolina, and go to the event there. Now that, let me see if I can find the information. I didn't pull that up first. I should have. It's going to be the first weekend in October, the 5th and the 6th of October. And it's going to have David Browning's going to be there, and a bunch of the tribute artists are going to be there as well. Now, it's not like Mayberry Days, but if you miss Mayberry Days, at least that gives you something to shoot for, to head over to Dan Nicholas Park in Salisbury, North Carolina for the Autumn Jubilee Festival. And it runs from 8 in the morning to 6 at night on both days, the 5th and the 6th of October. So, and there's just so many more things that you can go and check out there. If you head over to imayberry.com and click on the event calendar, it'll take you directly over to Floyd's Barbershop Bulletin Board, and the event calendar you'll find there. It's part of the e-bullet, and you'll be able to scroll down the page and see everything that's coming up in the near future, and you don't want to miss any of it. So find something in your area and go. You'll meet a lot of fun Mayberry folks that you'll get to know, and just it's almost like being with family when you do that, folks. So I want to encourage you. All right. Well, that is all I have got for you tonight. And it's not actually really all, but it's time to go. And we'll have shows coming up the next couple of weeks. Coming up right at Mayberry Days next weekend. So I'm giving you a heads up now so you can, or weekend after next, I should say. So you've got some time to actually make plans if you're going to go and be there. But we got shows coming up both weeks. So do your best to head back over here to Mayberry and Two Chairs No Waiting to check us out. So folks, I guess it's always parting is such sweet sorrow. So it's time for us to start heading on out of here and getting this show over. So folks, I want to thank you for being here with me. And I want to ask that you give me a call at 888-684-8415 and let me know what you think. Tell me about the show. Tell me what you like about the Andy Griffith Show, about the podcast. Anything you'd like to tell me, as long as it's kind of nice and I can use it on the air maybe. I'd love to hear from you. It's 888-684-8415. You can email me at floyd@imayberry.com. Drop by one of our sites, our twochairsnowaiting.com or facebook.com/2chairs, and leave comments there too. We'd love to hear from you. Until then, folks, we'll see you next time on Two Chairs. Good night, everybody.